Welcome to this week's video. I hope that the dog jumps into this video because she's so cute. She's sitting right there. Another foster dog that we're fostering. I know we haven't had a foster dog cameo in a few months, but going strong. We're on our 7th, and she's a really pretty girl. But we're talking about podcasting today, not dogs. My bad. I want to talk to you today on our show host series about how to think really smartly about using video in your podcast in this year, 2024. Last week's video at the top of the year was about like our best tips for 2024 in general, kind of what happened in 2023, how to make really smart moves in 2024, production, strategy, audience development, blah, 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 blah. But it definitely is worth it to dedicate a whole video just to talking about video strategy for podcasters in 2024 because we work in chat shows, talk shows, people having conversations, or just chatting straight to the audience. We don't work in really cool journalistic narrative style shows. And so the backbone of chat shows has kind of always suited itself well to video. My background as a producer, Worthful Media's background as a production agency has always been like video's a great idea for this style of show. And more so than ever, podcasting is becoming really wrapped up in video. Now, that doesn't mean all podcasts should be videoed, but we're going to talk specifically today if you're a show host of a chat show and you're making a show in 2024 and you want to put your best foot forward, how can you use video to do that? Because the tools have gotten better, the platforms have gotten better. There's also some nuance I want you to keep in mind. Here she is. Isn't she gorgeous? This is Aslan. She's so sweet. So the first thing I want you to keep in mind is that all the research, all the data, which is getting better and better and better, big professional research companies have come out again and again and again in the last 2 years saying the research says audiences like to be able to watch chat shows. It doesn't mean they do watch the entire chat show. If it's like a 60-minute podcast episode of two people just talking, they're probably not going to keep their eyes on the screen the whole 60 minutes, but they absolutely like the option to be able to watch the actual people talking, both for, references of facial expressions and body language, also for just context of like what the person looks like. And it can be very helpful for people to get more language support if maybe English isn't their native language and they can watch people talking and read the captions on a YouTube video while they're taking in the content. Again and again and again, all the research, the third-party, non-biased research says people like that option. So that's why you see such a huge number of people listening to podcasts on YouTube, where most of the time they're just listening and every once in a while they'll glance at the screen to kind of see, a moment or a reference. And Spotify has also been playing around with putting video chat shows right in their app. They kind of have it in beta, like you'll see it and then you'll see it gone. So it's not widely available yet, but they've been playing with that for a long time. They really want to become the number one destination for podcast listeners and viewers. They're kind of a big competitor to YouTube in that sense. So you'll see that expanding through Spotify. Apple Podcasts has actually had the option of video forever, but nobody really knows or pays attention. So I think that's one of the biggest things we're going to see this year is just like a pretty much across the board. Do you have something to say, girly? Across the board, I think we're going to just see that video first chat podcasts is just the normal. Like if your show isn't on YouTube in video format, like something's a little odd. If you're a chat show, again, there's all sorts of great shows that still make a ton of sense to be audio only, but we're talking like conversation style or interview style or solo style shows that are meant to be educational and inspirational and entertaining. Like, I don't know that I really even have to sell you on this anymore, right? Like, isn't it interesting to watch interesting people talk about interesting topic? Like it is. And it doesn't mean you are going to have your eyes on the screen the whole time. That's even true when you watch like late night talk shows, right? Like even though those are short form, you're not like watching every moment, but you love the option to see it. So I want you to keep that in mind, that if you've kind of been hemming and hawing and going back and forth, just make the decision easy for yourself. Like if I have a chat show and I'm a podcaster and I'm taking this seriously, I'm going to just record video. Now, I don't want you to assume that means I have to spend $1 bajillion and do a multi-camera, a fancy edit, and, my life's going to be taken over by this video version of my show. Not at all. Because the quality of a podcast will always be stemming from what you're talking about, not what you look like. You don't have to go all out and do a fancy video edit to be on YouTube and have a quality product. You can do a simple one-shot widescreen take that you just run a single camera capturing you, and if you have a guest or two, just set it far back enough to capture everyone. You don't have to have a close-up on everyone. You don't have to have everyone have a dedicated camera. It can be very effective if you're in studio or in person to just have a single camera capturing the wide shot of everyone, and that can be your video version. That's still preferable to no video. And of course, if you have the budget and the bandwidth in the studio, then yeah, a multi-camera option is amazing. People love to see the close-ups and everyone has their own camera on them plus a wide shot, like duh. But that is more expensive and that does require editing. And yes, the AI part of that is coming along better to make the editing simpler, but it's not great yet. Like I wouldn't outsource it completely to AI yet. I think we'll get there, but we're not quite there yet. So in 2024, I would make the decision of whether you're going to just do a single wide shot camera if you're in person or you're going to do multicam purely based on budget. And now to state the obvious, if you're recording remotely, like you and your guests are in different places, you can totally don't even have to think about it. Just use a platform like Riverside and it will capture everyone in their own camera beautifully. And you just click a few buttons at the end of the recording and it perfectly optimizes it for publishing. Like remote recording has literally never been better for video. I totally recommend using Riverside.fm as your platform. I think it's the best one for this style of show. The easiest and the best. Aslan and Grace. So if you're doing remote, like problem solved, don't even think about it. Just use the platform, use the tools built in, and you're good to go. You really don't even have to edit. I wouldn't spend money on that unless you have a big show with a lot of budget and a lot of audience. Now, I want you to also keep in mind that there is a way to use video that doesn't involve publishing the full video version of your episode on YouTube. You could use video purely as promotional, meaning if you come to a studio, you could ask this team at the studio to just take some phone videos of you and your guests, kind of like a behind the scenes thing while you're recording. Boom, you've got promo videos for social media. That's super effective on social media to show people behind the scenes videos of you recording an episode with your guest or by yourself. You can also use the video version of your remote recording. Like let's say for whatever reason you don't want to publish it on YouTube in full. You can just click a couple buttons now on Riverside and it'll make clips for you already optimized and properly formatted for YouTube Shorts or for Instagram Reels or for TikTok, like any of the above. So you can actually have video be part of your promotion strategy and still not publish the full episodes to YouTube in video version. So I want you to really open your mind and be like, this could be really easy and cheap, or it could be expensive and have a lot of editing involved. Both are good options for different reasons, but there's really no good reason anymore if you're just held back by time investment and cost to not be doing video in some way for your show in 2024. Now, you might have a really good reason to not be publishing the full video episodes of your show on YouTube, and that is totally valid. There might be contracts in place, there might be publicity issues, there might be safety concerns. It could be that you just are really uncomfortable being on camera still, and that's okay. The world of personal brands makes you think that everyone should just be a media star, and that's totally not true. Most people aren't comfortable with it. And if you want to get comfortable with it, the only way to do that is to practice. But if you, for your own personal reasons, are I am not going to buy into this culture of making myself, available on camera, don't. Just know that there will be an expectation from your audience that there's some kind of video version of your show. So I want you to address it and just let them know, hey, this is an audio only show and here's why. And you can listen on all these platforms and here's where to send your comments and feedback. The other thing I'm going to bring up in this video, just so that you have a good lay of the land, is that YouTube literally this week, the second week of January 2024, turned on audio only podcast episodes. Meaning, you can now go into your podcast hosting service where you upload your MP3 files to distribute your show out to the world, and you can now connect it to YouTube. And when that happens, every time you publish an episode on your hosting service that goes out to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, YouTube will get the note and they will take that file and they will upload it to your YouTube channel, and they will just create like a static image, like just your podcast artwork essentially, unless you designate something else. And it will create like an audio only video that plays your full audio episode, and it will appear right on your YouTube channel, like the main thing, the real deal, the YouTube app. And that is something that podcasters have been waiting for a year, and it literally rolled out this week in the US. And so if you have strong, important reasons to not put a full video version of your show on YouTube, but you do want to be present there for your audience to have the option to listen, which is a very smart idea. There's really no reason not to do that anymore for most podcasters. You can now just connect your YouTube channel to your podcast hosting service, and it will seamlessly publish an audio-only version of your show on your YouTube channel. And that, at a bare minimum, I would highly recommend. There are a couple caveats that people are still trying to figure out when it comes to advertising and sponsorship with the audio-only version of a show going on YouTube. And I won't get into that in that video, but you know who you are if this applies to you. It typically applies to people who already have large network sponsorship deals, and there's some nuance people are still trying to sort through around the contracts, because if you're running ads on your audio show and then YouTube is pulling that show and putting it on YouTube, but YouTube is splitting revenue with you for every ad it plays on your audio only version of your video, it can get messy, and they're still trying to figure out how to do that. But for most of you watching, you're not in those shoes. So unless you're in a sticky wicket with your network and your sponsorships not wanting you to be on YouTube because of revenue share, blah, 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 I would highly recommend putting your show on your YouTube channel. Starting today, just go into your YouTube studio, connect your podcast hosting service to your YouTube channel, and just start at least publishing your audio-only episodes. Next best is to publish the wide shot of your recordings, capturing everybody in a single shot that you really don't need to edit unless you want to, or using a remote recording platform like Riverside to get a great video of everyone. And then the top shelf best option that costs money, and I only recommend to people who have it in the budget, is go into a studio, record in multi-camera, get a beautiful shot of everyone in a wide shot, put in beautiful editing, like go the whole 9 yards, because audiences love it when they see it. But it only makes sense if you're already getting a return on investment. Your show is already bringing back the money to make that make sense. Okay, that is like a pretty basic video this week, but I just wanted to give it to you at the top of the year. Like, here's what's up with video and podcasting in 2024 for personal brands and chat shows. Obviously, we have a studio in Salt Lake City, and we believe in the value of video for podcasters. So if you're local or you want to fly in and record your show here, come on down. Like, that's why we put the studio together. But I don't want you to think you can't use video in your podcast unless you have access to a studio or unless you have a big budget. You can totally do it in a lot of great ways, and it will just take you where you want to go for almost everybody. Video is a super powerful tool for chat shows. If you have questions, leave a comment. We will cover more hot topics for show hosts and personal brands and podcasting in 2024 on the channel, so subscribe. And thanks so much for watching. Thanks for being cool about the foster dogs. They're so much fun to have. Sometimes they make cameos, so you're welcome.